The boyfriend, the Harringtons, lived in a detached four-bedroom in Weybridge, the sort of house that had once been considered quite grand but now felt merely adequate. Number 17 Cedar Close, with its neat laurel hedge and gravel drive that crunched under tires like polite applause. Edward Harrington, 54, worked in insurance. Middle management, nothing flashy. His wife Caroline, 49, ran a small interior design consultancy from the converted garage. Their daughter Beatrice, B to everyone, was 23, recently graduated from Bristol with a 2-to-1 in English literature, and currently figuring things out while waitressing at a gastropub in the village. B's boyfriend was called Tom Whitaker. 25, tall, quiet, with the sort of boyish good looks that made older women say things like, "He's got such kind eyes." Tom worked as a junior solicitor in a firm in Guildford, specializing in family law. Ironic, Caroline would later remark. He had been coming round for Sunday roast for 6 months now, always bringing a decent bottle of red and offering to carve the joint. Edward liked him. Caroline liked him more. B seemed besotted. What nobody knew, not yet, was that Tom was also quietly helping someone else. The other son. Margaret Ellis lived 3 streets away, in one of the older semis on Elm Grove. She had been Caroline's closest friend since university, though the friendship had cooled over the years into something more polite than passionate. Margaret's son, Jamie, was 21, still living at home after dropping out of his second year at uni. He had a history of depression, a failed A-level resit, and now a vague plan to get into coding. He spent most days in his room playing video games or scrolling. Jamie had always been the sensitive one. When he was 14, Caroline had found him crying in the garden after a row with Margaret. She'd sat with him for an hour, letting him talk about how he felt invisible. Since then, there had been a quiet bond between them that Tom had met Jamie properly only once, at a barbecue the previous summer, but somehow, over the months, they'd started messaging. It began innocently, Tom offering advice about job applications, then helping Jamie rewrite his CV. Then it became more. Tom was paying for Jamie's online coding course. He was driving him to interviews in Guildford. He was, in short, acting like the older brother Jamie had never had. B knew nothing of it. The first crack. It started with a pair of trainers. B came home one Saturday evening to find Tom in the kitchen with Caroline, laughing over a glass of Pinot. Edward was watching football in the sitting room. Jamie had been round earlier. Margaret had dropped him off to help with the garden. Though the garden needed no help, B noticed the trainers first. New white Nikes, the sort Jamie had been coveting for months. They were by the back door. "Who bought those?" she asked, casual. Caroline glanced at Tom. "Oh, Tom treated Jamie. Poor lad's been so down." B's smile froze. "You bought him trainers?" Tom shrugged. "He mentioned he needed some decent ones for interviews. I had a voucher." B said nothing more that evening, but later in bed she turned to him. "You didn't tell me. It wasn't a big deal. It's my mom's best friend's son. You're buying him things. Without telling me." Tom sighed. "B, he's struggling." "I was just being kind," she repeated, the word tasting sour. "Right." Seeds of jealousy. Over the next weeks, the small things accumulated. Tom took Jamie to London for a day. Networking, he called it. He came back with stories of coffee shops and tech meetups. B asked why she hadn't been invited. Tom said it was a bloke thing. Caroline started mentioning Jamie more often. "Such a sweet boy. Tom's been marvelous with him." Edward nodded absently. B felt the house tilting. One evening, Margaret came round for supper. Jamie was there too. B watched as Tom refilled Jamie's glass, asked about his latest project, laughed at his jokes. Caroline beamed. Margaret looked grateful. B felt like an outsider in her own home. That night, she confronted Tom in the garden. "Why are you doing this?" "Doing what?" "Playing big brother to Jamie, buying him things." Spending all this time with him, Tom looked genuinely puzzled. "Because he needs it. His dad left when he was 12. Margaret's on her own. He's got no one. And I have you," B said quietly. "But you're giving him everything." Tom reached for her hand. She pulled away. The confrontation. The explosion came on a rainy Sunday in late October. They were all there for lunch. The Harringtons, Margaret, Jamie, Tom. Caroline had made her famous beef Wellington. The table was set with the good china. Halfway through pudding, Caroline said, Tom's been an absolute godsend to Jamie. Honestly, I don't know what we'd have done without him. Bee's fork clattered. We? Caroline frowned. Sorry, darling? You said we. As if Jamie's part of this family now. The room went quiet. Margaret said softly, Bee, love, no one's trying to cut her off. No, Mum is. Mum loves it. Tom's her new project. Jamie's her new son. Edward cleared his throat. Beatrice, that's enough. But Bee was crying now. He's my boyfriend, mine, and he's spending all his time and money on someone else. Tom said, Bee, please. No, she shouted. You lied to me. You hid it. You made me feel like I was mad for noticing. Caroline stood up. Darling, sit down. We're all family here. Bee laughed, bitter. Family? You've replaced me with Jamie. The words hung. Jamie looked at the floor. Margaret's eyes filled. Tom said quietly, I never meant to hurt you. Bee stared at him. But you did. She left the table and ran upstairs. Secrets unravel. That evening, Caroline went up to Bee's room. Bee was sitting on the bed, knees drawn up. I'm sorry, Caroline said. I didn't realize how it looked. Bee didn't look at her. You always liked Jamie more. Even when we were kids. That's not true. It is. You'd take him to the cinema when I was revising. You'd buy him ice creams. You felt sorry for him. Caroline sat beside her. He had no father. I was trying to help, and now Tom's doing the same. And you love it. You love having a son who needs you. Caroline's voice cracked. I never stopped loving you. Bee finally looked at her. Then why does it feel like you have? They sat in silence downstairs. Tom was talking to Edward. I should have told her, Tom said. Edward nodded. Yes, you should. I thought I was doing a good thing. You were. But you forgot the person who matters most to you. Tom rubbed his face. I don't know how to fix this. Edward said, start by being honest about everything. The revenge. Bea didn't speak to Tom for a week. Then one evening, she asked him to come round. He arrived looking exhausted. She sat him in the sitting room. Caroline and Edward were out. I've been thinking, Bea said. Tom nodded. I've decided something. He waited. I'm going to tell everyone the truth. Tom frowned. What truth? Bea took a breath. About you and Jamie. Tom's face paled. There's nothing, not like that, she said. About how you've been helping him. About how you've been paying for everything. About how you've been lying to me. Tom said, Bea, please. No, you don't get to decide anymore. She stood up. And there's more. She walked to the door and opened it. Jamie was standing there. Tom stared. Jamie said quietly, She asked me to come. Bea said, sit down, both of you. They sat. Bea looked at Tom. You've been giving Jamie money. You've been driving him everywhere. You've been his best friend. And you never told me, Tom said. I was trying to. I know why, Bea said. But you made me feel invisible. She turned to Jamie. And you let him. Jamie looked ashamed. I didn't know it was hurting you. Bea said, now you do. She took an envelope from the table. Inside were bank statements, Tom's. She'd found them on his laptop, £3,000 in the last 6 months, she said, to Jamie's account, for courses, clothes, travel. Tom closed his eyes. Bea said, I'm not going to tell Mum, not yet, but I want you to stop, all of it. Tom said, Bea, no, and I want an apology, to me, to Jamie, for using him to feel good about yourself. Jamie said, Tom didn't use me. Bea ignored him. And then, I want you to leave. Tom looked at her. Leave? The house. My life silence. Then Tom said, I love you. Bea said, then prove it. The reckoning the next day, Caroline found out. Not from Bea, from Margaret. Margaret had overheard Jamie on the phone to Tom. She'd confronted him. Jamie had told her everything. Margaret came round that evening. Eyes red, Caroline listened in the kitchen. When Margaret finished, Caroline said, I had no idea. Margaret said, neither did I. Jamie feels awful. Caroline went upstairs to Bea. Bea was packing. Where are you going? Caroline asked. London, friend's flat. Caroline said, don't. Bea said, I can't stay here. Caroline sat on the bed. I'm sorry for everything. Bea said, you always chose everyone else. Caroline cried, I never meant to. Bea said, but you did. They hugged, awkward at first, then tight. Downstairs, Edward was talking to Tom. Tom said, I'll go. Edward said, you don't have to. Tom said, I do, aftermath. BA moved to London. She got a job in publishing. Tom stopped helping Jamie. Jamie got a job on his own. Margaret and Caroline rebuilt their friendship slowly. Edward and Caroline talked more. One evening, 6 months later, B came home for Christmas. Tom was there, invited by Edward. They sat in the garden. B said, I'm sorry for how I ended it. Tom said, I'm sorry for everything before. B said, do you still love me? Tom said, yes, B said. Then start again. Properly, Tom smiled. Properly. And in the quiet house on Cedar Close, the healing began. Epilogue. A year later, Jamie moved out. Margaret sold the semi and bought a cottage in Devon. Caroline started a charity for young men with mental health issues. B and Tom got engaged. Quietly, no fuss. The trainers Jamie wore that day, he still has them. They're a bit tatty now, but every time he puts them on, he remembers the summer everything changed, and he smiles.